Welcome to Storytime with Elo. The NALA Trilogy, Episode 2, Addicted. The message glowed on his screen all night. Let's meet. Just the two of us. Nala lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart thudding with a mix of guilt and desire. She knew what the right thing was. Delete the message, roll over, and call David in the morning to tell him about it. But her thumb hovered, betraying her. By evening the next day, she found herself standing outside a rooftop bar in Westlands, the kind of place where the city spread beneath you in glittering chaos. She told herself she was only coming for clarity, to prove to herself there was nothing here. But the moment she saw him, leaning against the railing, blazer unbuttoned, shirt collar loose, his skin catching the city lights, every rational thought deserted her. "Glad you came," Jabari said, voice smooth and low like a secret. I I shouldn't be here," she replied, though her feet carried her closer. "Maybe not," he said with a slow smile. "But you wanted to." Their conversation danced around the surface at first, his years in London, her cases at the firm, but beneath it something darker hummed. The way his eyes held hers a second too long. The way he leaned in as though every word she spoke was worth keeping. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years, as though the city itself had poured fire into her veins. When his fingers brushed hers on the table, a spark shot through her so sharp she almost pulled away. Almost. Instead, she let it linger. "You feel it too," he murmured, more statement than question. Her chest rose and fell too fast. She swallowed, eyes darting away. "This is madness. David trusts us both." His smile faded, replaced by something softer, more dangerous. "I love him like a brother. I'd never set out to hurt him. But you," his eyes darkened, voice dropping lower. "You undo me, Nala. I can't stop thinking about you." The words seared through her. She leaned in, breath trembling. "Don't say that." "I have to," he said, and the intensity in his gaze made her feel naked. "You're not like anyone else." The air between them throbbed with heat, her pulse matching it. When she finally pulled back, heart racing, she knew she was already lost. The messages began innocently enough. "How was your day? Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked incredible in that dress." At first, Nala told herself she could stop whenever she wanted, that these late night texts just harmless connection. But soon, her phone was buzzing at all hours, and she lived for the glow of Jabari's name on her screen. Each message was a spark, and she was addicted to the burn. When they crossed paths again, at a dinner with friends, it was unbearable. Sitting across from him, David at his side, their eyes found each other over and over, lingering too long. A brush of his knee under the table made her breath catch. When David excused himself to take a call, Jabari leaned close enough that his lips almost grazed her ear. "You're mine, Nala," he whispered. "Even here." Her heart hammered so loudly she thought the whole table could hear. Nights blurred into a secret rhythm, stolen hours in a quiet hotel room. The city glittered below as Jabari's hands traced fire across her skin. She had never felt so alive. Jabari was a storm, a drug, a danger she couldn't put down. Every kiss was lightning. every touch a blaze that burned away her guilt until only hunger remained. And yet, the double life weighed heavy. By day, she played the fiancée, dinner with David's family, wedding talk with her parents. By night, she unraveled in Jabari's arm. Miriam noticed first. One afternoon, they sat again at their usual cafe. Nala tried to sip her tea casually, but Miriam's eyes narrowed. "You glowing," she said, blunt and amused. Nala laughed too quickly. "I'm just happy." Miriam leaned forward, voice dropping. "Nah, there's something different about you. You lighter, sparkier. And don't tell me it's David, because I've seen the way you look at him. And it's not this." Nala froze, his spoon clinking too hard against the cup. "You're imagining things." Mm. "Keep your secrets, Mwende, but one day you'll spill, and I'll be here, waiting with popcorn." Nala laughed it off, but her chest ached. Miriam was right. She just wasn't ready to admit it. Their meetings grew bolder. Nala had told herself she could resist, that she was strong enough to play with fire without being consumed. But Jabari was not a man who allowed half measures. Every time she swore it was the last, she found herself answering his texts, her body betraying her mind. One evening, as Nairobi's skyline glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling hotel window, she lay tangled in the sheets, breath unsteady. Jabari sat beside her, bare chest glistening in the half-light, a glass of whiskey in his hand. For once, his smile was absent. "I've never done this before," he said, staring into the amber liquid. Nala laughed softly, pulling the sheet tighter around her. "What? Slept with a woman? I find that hard to believe." His eyes flicked to hers, serious. "I've slept with women. Too many. I've broken hearts, walked away, never looked back. But this..." He reached out, brushing her jaw with his thumb. "This isn't the same. You're not the kind of woman a man forgets." Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, and yet fear clawed at her. "And what about David?" she whispered. His hand lingered on her skin, eyes dark with conflict. "He's my brother. I love him. Hurting him is the last thing I want." "But Nala," his voice dropped, raw. "I can't let you go. You're it for me." Her pulse thundered, torn between guilt and exhilaration. In his arms, she felt both doomed and alive. The next afternoon, Nala met Miriam for coffee. Nala had tried to hide the changes. Looser hair, brighter clothes, the glow that clung to her. But Miriam saw straight through. "Okay," Miriam said, sipping her latte slowly, eyes narrowing. "Who is he?" Nala froze, spoon hovering over her tea. "What are you talking about?" Miriam smirked, unimpressed. "Don't play dumb. You've been smiling at nothing. You walking lighter like you've got a secret. Spill." Nala forced a laugh, shaking her head. "You're imagining things. I've just been less stressed, maybe?" Miriam leaned across the table, her earrings swinging. "Nala Mwende, I have known you for years. I know your focused face, your bored stiff with David face, and this," she pointed a spoon like an arrow. "This is new. This is, I've seen someone undress me with his eyes and I liked it." Heat rushed to Nala's cheeks. She stirred her tea furiously, avoiding Miriam's piercing gaze. "You ridiculous." Mm-hmm, Miriam hummed, leaning back with a wicked grin. "Keep lying, my dear. But remember, secrets have a way of spilling out." Nala smiled tightly, but her chest throbbed with guilt. Miriam didn't know the half of it. That weekend, Miriam dragged Nala out for girls' night. The club was loud, pulsing with Afro beats and flashing neon. But halfway through the evening, Nala caught sight of him. Jabari was leaning against the bar, blazer discarded, shirt sleeves rolled, looking like temptation itself. Her heart lurched. She hadn't expected him here. But then again, Nairobi was a small city for secrets. Miriam leaned in. I'm going to the ladies. Be back just now. Miriam headed towards the toilets, but Narla didn't hear her. Her gaze focused on Jabari. The next moment, Jabari was beside her. His hand brushed her back, steadying her as the crowd surged. His mouth dipped close to her ear, the bass vibrating through them both. Dance with me. It wasn't a request. Nala hesitated for a heartbeat, then let herself be pulled into him. His hands were strong, anchoring her waist, guiding her as the rhythm overtook them. Every move was heat, every shift of his body against hers a promise of something deeper. She forgot Miriam, forgot the crowd, forgot everything except the man whose presence set her veins alight. By the time they slipped outside for air, her pulse was a drumbeat in her throat. The city sprawled around them, alive with noise and light, but the balcony felt like its own universe. Jabari pressed her gently against the railing, his gaze fierce. Let's get out of here. His voice was low, rough. I need you. Her breath came shallow, chest tight. I need you too. She kissed him, fiercely, desperately. And in that kiss was everything she feared and everything she craved. David's night shifts had become relentless. 3, sometimes 4 in a row, leaving him stumbling home just as dawn painted the sky, his body heavy with exhaustion. He would collapse into bed, still half in his scrubs, press a tired kiss to her forehead, before sinking into dreamless sleep. At first, Nala had pitied him, resented how much of their time the hospital stole. Now, it gave her room for nights spent elsewhere, in someone else's arms, while David remained none the wiser. When he did have time for her, it was in fragments: a rushed dinner, a movie half watched before his head dropped against her shoulder in sleep. Sometimes he reached for her in bed, the way he always had, tender, steady, dependable. But now, Nala pulled away, citing exhaustion, early mornings, deadlines at the firm. Not tonight, she whispered once, guilt tightening her chest. David sighed, kissing her temple with weary affection. We're both tired. When this rotation ends, things will go back to normal. Normal. The word cut her, because nothing about her life felt normal anymore. Sunday dinner at the Otieno house was proof of the life she was supposed to want. The table was rich with ugali, sukuma, goat stew, laughter rising with the steam. David's mother fussed over her, calling her my daughter already, while his father asked about her latest cases at the firm. David sat beside her, hand warm and steady on her knee, pride written in his every glance. You two must set a date soon, his mother urged, beaming. 5 years, 1 year engaged. It's time. Nala forced a smile, her fingers brushing the engagement ring on her hand. It glittered under the warm light, heavy as a chain. She nodded politely, her throat dry. Later, walking home with David, he slipped his arm around her shoulders. You look beautiful tonight, he said softly. I can't wait to see you as my wife. She smiled, but her stomach twisted because all the while her phone buzzed in her purse, one word lighting the screen. Come, Jabari. And when David kissed her goodnight and headed back to work, Nala slipped back out into the night. Jabari's apartment was alive with music and low light. He opened the door, shirtless, his body sculpted like temptation itself, a glass of whiskey in his hand. You're late, he teased, pulling her inside. I couldn't just walk out, she whispered, still breathless from the rush of deceit. But the moment his arms wrapped around her, every ounce of guilt dissolved. He kissed her like a man starved, like every second without her had been unbearable. And she kissed him back, desperate, reckless, alive. The city blurred beyond the windows, but inside his apartment, everything sharpened. The heat of his mouth, the strength of his hands, the low sound in his throat when she clung to him like a lifeline. Every touch reminded her why she couldn't stay away. He was danger. He was freedom. He was the fire she had been starving for. Later, curled against his chest, Nala let herself laugh. Really laugh. He teased her about a strict schedule, mimicked her lawyerly tone, made her forget the weight of her double life. For a few stolen hours, there was only them, heat, laughter, fire. You're mine, Jabari murmured into her hair, no matter what the world thinks. She closed her eyes because in that moment, she wanted nothing else to be true. Miriam had been dodged long enough. For 2 weeks, Nala had ignored her calls, made excuses for coffee dates, sent half-hearted texts. But when they finally met again at the usual cafe, Miriam's expression was cool, her arms folded tight across her chest. I saw you, Nala, she said, at the club. You disappeared with him. Don't insult me by pretending it was nothing. Nala's mouth went dry. You don't know what you saw. I know enough, Miriam shot back. I know there's a man, and I know he's the reason you've been glowing these past weeks, walking around like someone lit a match under your skin. So tell me, who is he? Nala hesitated. She could have lied, chosen another name, softened the truth, but the words slipped out before she could stop them. Jabari Mwinyi. Miriam's face dropped. David's Jabari. Nala nodded, pulse pounding. Jesus, Nala. Miriam leaned back, shaking her head. You sleeping with David's best friend? Do you even hear yourself? This isn't just reckless, it's cruel. Miriam, you don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. Miriam's voice trembled between disbelief and fury. I've heard the stories, everyone has. Jabari and the trail of broken hearts he left behind before he ran off to London. Women he swore he was serious, only for him to vanish the second he got bored. And now you? He's not like that with me. Miriam's eyes softened, just slightly. I believe you think that. But what if you're wrong? What if he burns you too? You're risking everything. Your career, your engagement, your family's pride, for a man who could leave you shattered. And worst of all, you betraying David with him, his brother, in everything but blood. Nala's eyes stung. It's not that simple. Yes, it is, Miriam snapped. Then her tone shifted, sad but firm. If you want Jabari, fine. But have the decency to break things off with David first. Don't make a fool of him. Don't be that woman, Nala. That night, Jabari held her close in his apartment, the city lights casting shadows across his face. He kissed her, slow but intense, before pulling back. You're trembling, he murmured. Miriam knows, Nala confessed, her voice breaking. She saw us, and she thinks I'm a monster. His jaw tightened. She doesn't matter. She does. She's right. I'm engaged to your best friend. You realize how impossible this is? Jabari's gaze burned into her. Nothing about us is impossible. And don't ask me to step aside so he can keep dreaming of a future that doesn't exist anymore. I can't live in the shadows. Not with you. I can't let you go. I've tried. God knows I've tried. But you. He kissed her forehead, then her cheek lingering near her lips. You're it, Nala. The one. And if I burn for it, so be it. Nala's breath caught, torn between the life she'd built and the fire she couldn't resist. She clung to him, saying nothing, because she wasn't ready. Not yet. Her hands trembled as they gripped his shirt. She hated him for saying it, hated herself for believing it. But when his mouth finally found hers, all that hate melted into heat, and she knew she was lost. Until that night, Nala had drawn one line. She had never allowed Jabari into the apartment she shared with David, never into their bed. No matter how reckless she'd been in bars, in cars, in Jabari's place, across town, she had clung to that boundary. It was her last scrap of loyalty, the one lie she told herself to soften the guilt. But when Jabari showed up at her door just past midnight, his eyes burning, his voice low and hungry, she couldn't send him away. David was on another brutal night shift at the hospital, 48 hours straight. She told herself no one would ever know. And so she let him in. The sex was frantic, a blur of heat and sheets, her body betraying every vow she'd ever made. After, she lay against him, the scent of him on her skin, the guilt pushed down so deep she almost forgot it existed. Almost. The sound of the key in the front door turned her blood to ice. Jabari tensed. No, he whispered, already half rising. But it was too late. The bedroom door opened, and David stood there in the dim light. He had come home early, his scrub still creased, exhaustion shadowing his face. But the look in his eyes cut through every ounce of fatigue. Rage, grief, disbelief, all fused together. For a moment, none of them moved. Then David's voice, hoarse and raw. So, this is why you've been so tired. Nala scrambled upright, clutching the sheet to her chest, words choking in her throat. David, don't! His hands shook as he stepped into the room. His eyes flicked between them, between the man he had called his brother and the woman he wanted for his wife. Not one word. Jabari's jaw flexed, but he said nothing. His silence was admission enough. David's breath came hard and fast, his face pale with the weight of betrayal. 5 years, Nala, and you throw it all away, here, in our bed. Her tears blurred the edges of the room. You don't even recognize what you've done, he said, his voice breaking. He turned to Jabari, fury trembling in his frame. My brother, you too. The silence stretched, unbearable, until David spun away. The door slammed behind him, the sound ricocheting through the apartment. Nala sat frozen, the sheets clutched tight, her pulse roaring in her ears. For the first time, she understood there was no line left to cling to. The fire she had lit had consumed everything.